webinar. Many of you are joining to learn about innovation in the real estate industry. For the new folks here, we're doing these weekly webinars to better connect with the real estate professionals, provide help inviting the industry leaders, and in the end, to show the latest updates of our product that is built to transform the real estate transaction. Today, we will be revealing how brokerages can become tech-driven. Rajiv Sajja, the Senior Vice President of Digital Marketing and Innovation at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Fox and Roach, a brokerage with 5,700 agents, is our guest today. We will discuss how to increase technology adoption amongst agents in real estate, new tools, and the changes Zillow and MLSs are doing currently. Rajiv, I am so excited to have you here today with me and Joe Budelli, our CRO at Propy. You have such a vast knowledge in all aspects in our industry. Could you please share a little bit about yourself and where your passion for innovation comes from?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Natalie and Joe. It's great to be on the Propy weekly webinar series. As Natalie said, my name is Rajiv. I work for a great company out of the greater Philadelphia area. I have a background in tech. So I did my master's in computer engineering from Villanova University. So I grew up wanting to be a technologist, and I started my work at Berkshire Hathaway, which was formerly Prudential, back in 2000 in technology. And as the web changed and as many people were gravitating to really searching for homes on the web and that whole emergence of that trend, I went into marketing. So I tell people that I work in real estate and I live at the corner of Technology Avenue and Marketing Street. People seem to get that because that's the place where I live. So I come from technology, but I have a deep passion for marketing and making that come to life with technology and data and solutions like that. So I've been with the company for 19 plus years. I think this is my 20th year. And that's a long time, no matter where you are. So, and it has been, and you guys know this as well as anybody, that the last 20 years, we've seen evolution and in many cases a revolution with how tech and real estate in general has been a laggard in adopting technology compared to the other industries. And that's probably where a bit of the passion comes from, is to empower our real estate agents in our company to embrace it so that they can grow their business and be more efficient. So that's where some of the passion comes from, to not have our industry and really more important, our company be a laggard in technology.
Fantastic. And so today we'll be talking about a few tricks you utilize to increase the adoption of some tools. And we will talk about a number of those tools that your agents are utilizing. But before we get there, why do you think it's important? And how will the technology adoption amongst agents help the industry?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of discussion around the industry about, will technology replace a real estate agent? I don't necessarily believe that. I don't think technology will replace a real estate agent, but real estate agents that don't embrace technology will. So I think you need to embrace the right kind of technology, and I think that's really where we're constantly innovating and evolving where we need to be. To empower our technology, empower our sales associates to embrace technology. And, simple things like, imagine how many Zoom calls we've been on during COVID, right? We've been getting Zoom fatigue. I got these Zoom backgrounds, like all this stuff that we're doing that we could have very easily done pre-COVID. But we were forced to embrace it. And sometimes it's said that, people don't embrace things unless you're forced to sometimes. And I think during COVID, what some of the agents have realized is consumers' expectations have changed. They're asking for more things, and you were forced to do it virtually. And some people embraced it early. Some people embraced it a little late, but we're like, 8 months in now almost in this work from home atmosphere. And some people are realizing they better embrace it before they get left behind. So I think consumer expectations are changing. They want to see more things virtually to connect with their home, the process of the transaction and all of that. So I think it's the times have forced people to embrace a bit of the technology as well. So it's an interesting time.
Now, Rajiv, Fox and Roach has over 5,000 agents. I think like probably more than 5,500 agents. How did you go about getting them the adoption to the new technology?
We got a secret pill for adoption there, Joe. We just give it to them every day in the morning, and we get them to adopt. No, adoption is, as you very well know, I mean, adoption is the big brutal exercise when you launch things. It's easier to launch it. You know, they say that innovation gets rewarded, execution gets worshipped, right? So it's this whole notion of like we can invent all these tools, but if they're not really embracing it. So we have, as you know, we have a pretty large agent community that are broken down into 9 regions in the company. And each region has, and every office in those regions, we have about 75 sales offices across those 5,700 agents. And each of those offices sit in one of those 9 regions. And there is a massive technology / marketing training force that exists across those 9 regions. So when we launch something, we tend to at least get some of our agents involved. And as we get into some of the products that we're going to talk about, we'll maybe use one of those case studies as to how we launch that as an example. But we tend to get agents involved. Most agents like to hear other agents' success and they'll embrace it versus a corporate guy or gal talking about why they should use technology. So we tend to get agents involved more in promoting the technology and writing about success stories of agents that sort of have embraced some of the tech. So that's one. We also have technology specialists in each office. And these are realtors that have given a few hours of their time, 4 hours a week. They get compensated a little bit to kind of give their time, that have an agenda of teaching some of these topics after launch in their office. Obviously, it's all happening virtually, but they do that. And then we have launch webinars, we have training webinars, we have weekly trainings that they can just zoom in, zoom out of. And a combination of all of these things is the organic adoption we gain over time.
Now, what about those agents that may not be tech savvy? How do you get them involved to be able to understand or the willingness to adopt?
Yeah, so there's, I've always said that there's like 3 kinds of agents in our industry. One that's high tech, one that's low tech, and one that's no tech, right? And you're talking about the no tech agent, right? People that are really less tech savvy. And some of the tools if you can automate the tool for them and they don't have to really learn it and they get use from it, that's a good thing, right? Because they don't have necessarily, and agents don't want to necessarily learn something to use it unless it really drives business. So as an example, we have an open house app that agents use, and we automate certain things through the app. So they don't have necessarily learn the other thing to make things happen. So we do some level of intelligent marketing automation that happens for everybody. The second thing we do is we make the tech really easy. I mean, I think that's something that we all struggle with. Not all tech is easy. Some things are really complicated, especially if it's built by a technologist, which invariably it is. But if they don't think of the life of a real estate agent, and we have this project that we're working on called A Day in the Life of a Real Estate Agent. So if they're working with buyers, what kind of tools can they use with buyers? If they're working with sellers, what kind of tools can they use with sellers? If they're working with prospecting or farming, what kind of tools they use? So if you get into the mind of a real estate agent, they are, unlike many of us, and this is something that my passion comes from also, unlike many of us that are on a salary in our jobs, real estate agents don't make money unless they have a deal in many cases, right? So when they do like 12, 15 deals, those days that they have deals, they have high stress. And the last thing they want to kind of learn some things. And so they're all commission people. And if we can make their lives easier and make technology simple, that is easy to use, not big of a learning curve, those things get adopted even by the no savvy agents. So
yeah, I totally love it, Rajiv. And I do believe that the new tools, especially tailored to agents and to consumers, should be like iPhones. You're using iPhone, it's a technology, but you don't have to teach anybody. You just use it because it provides immediate value, right? I see that Joy is showing his phone.
Yeah, he's showing his phone. Yeah, for sure.
And but I want to get to this case study actually. Rajiv, could you share how you made it possible to have a high adoption rate for a new tool that you just introduced to your company? What was your strategy?
So, I mean, as we went through COVID, and a lot of us have come up with some learnings that I think we all get from COVID, which was one of the things was we did some data study on our website in terms of what are consumers looking for during this time where they can't really go see a home, especially early on in the COVID time, and also studies that industry outlets like Zillow have put out in terms of what consumers are looking for. And we found that consumers are looking for virtual engagement opportunities to see properties. And when I say virtual, I'm not talking about pictures, which is so 1990s, right? Everybody's got to have pictures. Yeah. My question really is about video and or 3D. So we've kind of determined that data tells us that listings that have 3D or video get way more engagement from consumers than listings that don't. And in a market where you're trying to put, I know it's a great market to sell your property, but some lessons that you could embed into your business, we realized that 3D tours is a good place where we could potentially introduce something to our agents that they could incorporate into our business. And traditionally, as you guys know, a solution like a Matterport, most agents only use it when it is a certain price listing and above, because it's not cheap. You know, it takes a few $100s to do a Matterport video or 3D. So we've discovered a company, a Bay Area startup called Astaroom that seemed to solve the price barrier for agents while not compromising on quality. So at that point, we sort of, got connected to them, and instead of just saying, hey, here we are with a tool, we didn't want to launch it, which we've done in the past with mixed success. We said, why don't we find 10 to 12 agents that we're going to give the kit, and I'll talk a little bit about what the Astaroom process is, and let's have these 12 agents do 3 or 4 3D tours using this service and have them talk about it and see if it's any good. So 8 of the 12 agents that we gave this Astaroom kits to, so it's very simple. You basically order a kit for your phone, and it basically is a lifetime warranty on the kit. And you have an app, Astaroom has an app, and you basically go to each room and you do your 360 tour, and they basically stitch everything together and send it back to you in 48 hours. And it's a do-it-yourself.
And by the way, we made a video, a demo on one of our early webinars.
Oh, nice.
So folks, we will send you a link of this webinar where we actually showed how it works and few agents, how they utilize that. So Rajiv, please continue.
Yeah. Well, thank you. So it's a very simple process. Unlike Matterport, where you have to call a photographer to schedule it, you as the agent can do it yourself. So we picked 8 agents to do it, and we were fortunate. One of the agents, and we try to get agents not just that are high tech, that only relate to a small segment of our audience. We try to get people in high tech, low tech, and no tech. And one of our agents, she's a 33 years with our company. Only one real estate company ever in our career. And she simply says that technology has a curse on her because she just can't embrace technology. So we picked and she's a very productive agent, Randy Meyer. We sent her the kit and had her do a pilot. She did 3 tours, and she said she contacted customer service once on her first tour, but after that she was rolling, and it took her 20 minutes to do a 3D tour of a 4,000 square foot home.
Oh, awesome.
And if you look at the tour side by side, you wouldn't know which one's Matterport and which one's Astaroom. So that's without compromising quality, we tend to, and so we then, taking it one step further, all 8 agents that did this test gave a major thumbs up to this technology. So we then moved to launch. We came up with a partnership with Astaroom. Instead of just launching, we typically try to have agents on our launch webinar. So we picked 5 of the 8 agents along with me, and I was just coordinating the webinar more than talking about it. And I had them talk about their experience using the technology. And so we've launched it, and we have, I believe, we've launched it about 4 weeks ago, really. And we have close to 200 agents that have ordered the kit, that have listings right now. And here's the greatest testament to a 3D tour company that is a fraction of the price of Matterport and easy to use. When agents say, I'm going to use 3D tour for rentals, I think you've cracked the code, because I don't see anyone doing a Matterport video on a rental. So because of the cost, because it's so cheap to do it. And so we're excited about providing value like that, that's easy to use for an agent, that can go into a listing presentation and win it because they can make a promise that they could do this for all their listings, not just the high price ones.
I think you shared really great points. First, two regarding the adoption. That's an amazing approach to actually invite to the process not only tech-driven agents, but those that actually are afraid of technology. And we're hearing the majority of brokerages, they do have this kind of internal communities that vet technologies. They just like to test new products. But in your case, you actually invited the least technological savvy agents to test it, try it, and share her experience. And then the second part to that was actually organizing the webinar where agents are talking to agents. So these are really great two tricks and approaches to make sure first that technology is user-friendly, and secondly, just to speak to the agents with their language. So totally appreciate that. And the other interesting point concerns the user behavior. We're seeing the first signs of consumer demands and behavior, where actually it's now expected every listing to have not only pictures, but also videos, live streams, and now 3D tours. And as the price is going down, as the agents, it's just easy for them to use those tools. I think it will be mainstream for residential. Now you mentioned rentals, and we actually have a question on social media from Richard. He is asking whether it's applicable to commercial real estate.
It's applicable to any listing, any property, commercial or residential or rental. I think there's a certain set number of rooms that they offer that you could do in a 3D, but you can go more than the 30 rooms or something like that. So if it's a commercial building and you want to show a lot more than just a single floor, you may pay a bit more, but you could do it Astroom 3D on anything. There's no limitation to it.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah. Besides those two tricks you shared, anything else, how other broker owners can increase the adoption rate for new technology?
I think, before you introduce new technology, I think you got to, most technologies are solutions looking for a problem to solve, right? And we find technologies that sort of come and go. If you can talk to your top agents, producers, and we have weekly meetings with, every week we talked about 2 or 3 top teams or agents in our company, just to see what's going on in their business, provide almost like a consultative advice and kind of learn from them, and asking them, what is the thing that you hate about real estate? And usually, invariably, it comes back with a pain point that might actually then help you solve that problem. And being a tech, when you talked about the iPhone, I give this analogy, Natalia, I got my first phone in this country was like a bag phone. I'm dating myself now. So the only way that phone worked was you actually plugged it into a wall outlet. Oh, wow. Then I got my flip phone and I was like flipping happy, that flip phone. Then came the BlackBerry and then the iPhone. And, to your point, you never needed a manual for an iPhone. Yeah. Imagine I moved away from a keyboard of a BlackBerry, which I was so much in love with. And then this is like touchscreen. But if you can focus on I mean, sometimes you have to build something like, if you build it, they will come, but it's very rarely that's true. But if you can focus on the problem of an agent and try to solve their pain point, that's really the key. Not just look at a new technology for technology's sake, but focus on talking to agents. And I think that then you'll get champions because you're really offering something that they spoke about, and they'll embrace it. And you can, invite them in to collaborate in the launch and adoption of any tech for that matter.
Yeah, totally agree. Joe, you're muted. I see you're trying to.
I think he's too excited with the iPhone. That's why.
Yeah.
And I made sure I put it away. So I would imagine with 5,700 agents, you have to go a long way to keep agents happy and to attract agents. What advice could you give for those mid-size and other brokers going out to try and attract agents? Is it, in your case, was it really the technology play to keep them efficient, or the way you implemented it? What kind of advice could you share with them?
That is a very interesting question, Joe, because I think as brokers, we have to determine what is our unique value proposition, right? I mean, if you look at, I really like Simon Sinek as a speaker, and he talks about this book called Start With Why. And if you look at, if you, and I saw this ad the other day that made me think about brokerages in the real estate industry. I mean, if you look at BMW, like the logo, it means performance, right? It just screams at you. And if you look at, like Mercedes-Benz, it screams luxury, right? And Volvo, safety. So if you put your brokerage logos next to each other, what do they mean to a consumer?
Nothing.
A whole lot of same stuff.
Same, yeah, not nothing. I would say same stuff, or some are more known because they have the brand for
longevity
a long
and
time.
national scale.
Exactly.
So if you could really articulate, give me an elevator pitch about why that should drive everything. And I mean, and then, not that we as a company of this size have that. We are actually working on revising our UVP as we speak, so we can train our managers, 75 of them, to be able to articulate the UVP when they talk to recruits. So it is something that we're actually absolutely in the midst of doing.
Awesome.
Really reinventing ourselves, because if you don't reinvent yourself, somebody will reinvent you. Right?
And actually, when you're talking about unique value proposition, are you positioning yourself as a tech-driven company? And what is today to be a tech-driven company?
Yeah, so, I mean, without revealing some of our key UVPs, some of them have to do with culture, right? Some of them have to do with growth. I will tell you, innovation is part of our UVP. So innovation means a whole lot of things, but tech is a core component of that. But we don't call ourselves, we're not a technology company doing real estate. Okay, and there are companies that claim that. We are a solid real estate company that offers the best of technology.
So you're a tech-driven brokerage. I as far as I feel, this is the case. But how do you, in fact, use the technology? Because I don't think that in today's world it's just necessary to hire a bunch of engineers. I think it's a matter of actually evaluating what is available today, providing the value for the consumer and the agent. And thus you have to have smart people in the leadership that is embracing technology this way.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point you make, Natalia. I think we as a company have very strong leadership, a leadership that's hyper local. They understand the local area. They have deep roots in our community, and with a variety of things. And they do believe that we're the best solution for consumers and agents to grow their careers. Right. So, and that we came up with a new tagline, as you can see here, everything you need. That's our tagline.
Good one. Yeah.
Sort of like, Nike says, just do it. But what does that really mean? In isolation, just do it doesn't mean anything. But if you put the Nike symbol, it means a whole lot. Right.
Yeah.
So we're putting more meat behind everything you need with our value proposition as we come up, so that when consumers see it, they know what Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Fox and Roach means for them as a consumer and as an agent. So if you figure that out, most of us are trying to figure out the how without figuring out the why.
Yeah.
Right. And if I were to, the question that came up, I mean, if I were to ask some of the brokers that are listening, why should I as a realtor join your company? Will you be able to inspire me and draw me in based on what you say? And everything else you do, tech, all of that will support that, or will just fall apart.
Yeah, the question why is very important.
Yeah, why? Solve the why and the how will follow.
Well, let's stay with that why, Rajiv. And you mentioned a tech-driven company. So without mentioning names like Zillow or some of those.
I think you're saying the C word.
Yeah.
Let's use the term why.
Yeah.
Why should an agent feel threatened by Zillow becoming a brokerage? And why would they?
Yeah, look, I think we're in very interesting times today. Right. And Zillow has they do have the consumer eyeballs. I think we recognize that. Okay. They are also now selling leads back to agents that want to buy them. And there are some agents that pay for those leads and they make good money doing it. I mean, that's their lead gen strategy. However, no matter which stats you look at, the last stat I heard on one of our calls with Berkshire Hathaway, it said that 77% of every real estate transaction this year happened because of someone's referral or sphere of influence. So there's a tendency in our industry to chase the shiny penny. The shiny penny is online leads, and that 23% of the business that's coming from online, if you will. But the question is, if 77% is coming from your business, from your sphere, Joe, my question would be, as a realtor, how much time and energy is 77% of your time and energy going towards servicing your sphere? So if you take care of your sphere, nobody will penetrate it. Make sense? So that's one strategy that we're big on. We're also big on growing your sphere, right? So if you grow your sphere and take care of your sphere, it doesn't matter who it is, you're going to still do a lot of business, number one. And last but not the least, I mean, Zillow it technically is a brokerage as of January, right, with IDX and the whole thing. But I still believe the trusted advisor role of a real estate agent will never go away. And we've seen, I mean, I don't know if you remember MLS books, right? The only way you found out about listings was call my realtor because they are the only ones access to secret information.
That's still the case in Europe.
That is scary thought, huh? Right. But yeah, so we've come a long way. So I think now the role of the real estate agent is going to become, once you find your home, I'll get you to closing. Right. It's sort of like I'll help you navigate the whole process stress-free, which we think real estate is still a very stressful process. And we spoke about that on the call. And I think there's some clear innovation that can happen in that area also.
Yeah, so, we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, Zillow being in the space is just fine for me. If I was a real estate agent, I do what I do best, which is grow my sphere, take care of my sphere, and I will crush it every year as a real estate agent. And I think that's where people are getting confused by the noise. Ignore the noise, focus on what pays your bills and what gets you business. And the nightmare in real estate is, a close friend of yours says, "Oh, I bought a home and I used somebody else. I didn't know you were in real estate."
Yeah, that's a nightmare.
That happens too more often than we'd like it to as a good real estate agent.
I wish we had a number on that too.
I know. I wish. I found that there's a tool that you can actually upload your sphere, and it will tell you if they've transacted with somebody in the recent.
Oh. That's an interesting one.
Yeah,
do you
some
know the
agents
name?
do not want to know that. Oh well, I'll send you offline. I'm still proofing the concept.
Still testing out.
Yeah.
I think it's a very important point about sphere of influence. And Rajiv, what you're saying is actually don't buy leads from Zillow, or if you buy it, only use 30% of your time to actually work on those leads.
Look, I mean, more agents we talk to. more are ramping down on Zillow than ramping up.
Yes, yes.
Having
And
said
then,
that, there are people, there are people in our company that have a lot of success with Zillow. So you have to sort of look at your book of business and see where you are and kind of grow it, but price is not going down with Zillow lead gen, right? And they're moving, they're obviously evolving too, so.
and I think regarding the sphere of influence, I've heard this from Berkshire Hathaway leadership as well. This is really important, especially now this year during shelter-in-place times. And it's important to embrace how can we actually utilize the sphere of influence. And a lot comes to technology again. So we have all friends, connections, whether LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook. And I think it's just important, be there, be yourself, share your life story, not just list one more new listing, but share the story about the listing. Make sure your friends know who you are, but also how passionate you are about real estate, not just sales, but actually what exactly you're passionate about in your area, in these stories about listings, and what kind of listings you share, what kind of buyers or sellers you have. So embracing, again, technology and social media for this sphere of influence, I think it's very, very lucrative, cost-effective, and we're seeing a lot of use cases amongst our customers. They're so active in a nice way on social media. They're not annoying with those new listings. They're just sharing stories, and I see they're very passionate. And I always refer my friends to those folks, whether it's New York or California, LA, or San Francisco. So I would totally support this idea of stop thinking about companies like Zillow, but embrace what you have nearby, what is actually approachable to you without any investment needed.
Right.
Okay, I also wanted to ask you about other tools that you're using besides Asteroom, and then we'll wrap up with few tips and recommendations.
Sure. I think the other thing that we're also using, I know people aren't doing too many open houses now. Some of them are happening virtually, some of them are happening in person because there's just not enough homes for sale, right? We're seeing a serious decline in listing inventory across the country. So one of the things we do is we tend to automate as much as we can intelligently for agents. So one of the things we do is if agents enter people that visited their open house, we not only push it into their CRM for lead nurturing and campaigning, we also create a like homes for sale automatically branded to the agent going to the consumer that visited the open house. So that's, again, look at the day in the life of an agent and look at how you could automate some of that stuff. And we're starting to do that. The other one that we just are about to launch is something called Streamline. We use DocuSign Transaction Room for contract to close. And this ability to keep everybody in the transaction informed with a checklist of who's responsible for what, although the rooms have it, but we're sort of doing more pushing that notifications to clients versus pulling them into to the cloud to kind of see what they need to do. So stuff like that, I think, nibbling around the edges on automating things for the agents so they don't have to do anything except take care of their clients and get them to closing, right? And do what they do best versus trying to learn a lot of tech, but have the tech work for them.
Exactly. That's very, very great points. Before we get to the recommendations, after this panel discussion, Veli here from Propy will actually make a demo. And today's focus is the consumer experience, how consumers, buyers and sellers are getting notifications about every single transaction step, how they can participate in the transaction or during the offer management. Transparency for the consumer will be the topic today. So stay tuned, stay online after we finish this panel discussion with Rajiv. So Rajiv, what are your final recommendations for agents, for broker owners?
Well, if you're an agent, I think you need to filter the noise and focus on what you're good at. And sometimes agents tend to try to do everything themselves versus trying to find people that do what you need to get done, but they're really good at it, like virtual assistants. But focus on your core business, focus on your sphere, grow your sphere, take care of your sphere. So they wouldn't want to think about anyone else when it comes to real estate except you. So that's a core focus, and every technology that supports that, you should plan on embracing it. That piece of it, and everything else, just leave it alone. I tell people that, it's like a grocery store. You don't go buy everything in a grocery store. You buy what you need and you leave.
That's a good one.
Brokerage tech is like that. You don't use everything that the brokerage offers, but at some point you're going to buy something at the grocery store that you didn't buy the last time around. So you're going to use technology that your brokerage offers at different stages. So that's one. And as a broker, I would have you lean in on the why and figure out if everything you're doing supports your core purpose and why agents should come work for you. And if you kind of focus on that, you're in good shape.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, we have one question here on LinkedIn, and everyone who is here online or Twitter or Facebook, feel free to ask questions. Either on the channel here or on social media. So the question is coming from Richard Wyman. Do we see live streaming possibilities as a feature for agents in the future?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that was interesting in the COVID time early on was we were teaching our agents how to do virtual showings of properties, right? For example, a Zoom, stream live it to Facebook Live, that component of it. Will that still be there post-COVID? It can be. There's no reason for it not to be. I mean, a sneak preview of a listing. Think about a listing that's about to come on the market. Who would not, especially in today's day and age, who would not want to see a listing that's about to come on the market? And you say live stream Saturday at 1:00, stay tuned. People will get tuned to that. And you don't have to you with social distance. So I think embracing some of that tech and making it easy for you to embrace it, I think live stream is part of our future. I don't know if we're going to go back to in-person conferences anytime soon. Even after
those?
What's that?
Do you miss those?
Quite frankly, I actually don't miss those because it saves me travel. I spend more time with my family. Again, pardon the Zoom fatigue, but now conferences are less. I'm actually attending a conference now. It's like 6 hours versus 2 days. Yeah, well. I mean, it never replaces the in-person interaction. I think that's a big component of it. So I think there's going to be a hybrid going forward. So if we're going to embrace that, I think agents will embrace live stream.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And I also don't miss the live conferences. I do miss maybe 2-3 times a year to meet professionals in person. But when the country is just open and you have this FOMO, all entrepreneurial kind of personalities have this FOMO. I can't miss this conference. I can't miss the other conference. So we're always on the plane, missing out so many opportunities to connect better to the team, to agents and customers and so on. So I'm here with you on that point, Rajiv. Okay, so let's make the final point actually about how do you see the future of the real estate market and the real estate transaction. How do you think home buying will be happening, let's say, in 10 years?
It's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of, I still believe that I think we'll all agree on it, that the transaction process from not just finding a home, which is pretty easy now, to actually getting to the closing table and continuing to build that relationship, that transaction period is still very stressful for home buyers and sellers. I mean,
especially if we remember about the wire fraud, which is increasing.
Yeah, all of that, right? I mean, there's just a lot going on there. And I think the innovation will happen in the next 5-10 years. And we're starting to see it happen with some of the stuff that you guys work on. There's several players in this space where they're trying to make this process very seamless. And I hate to reference Domino's Pizza Tracker, but
let's do that.
and let's just call it like it is, because I don't have stock in Domino's. I just like their pizza tracker. I don't know if they still have it, but I love the fact that they simply show the process and the steps in the process. And if you could simplify the transaction, not just from home search, I mean, you could also do an entire relationship building exercise with the agent. As soon as I get connected to an agent and we start to see homes, I mean, look what I have to do now. Home search, I get alerts from an agent from the MLS or wherever. Then they start using an app like Showing Time, which we use. I start to see the homes I've seen, and then I make an offer, and then the offer gets blown up. Then I got to go make an offer on another one, considering all multiple offer situation. But the client agent relationship from the start all the way through transaction to close, if it was all in a single app for me as a consumer, and with the Domino's Pizza Tracker type of simplicity, I think there's innovation there that can happen. And there's some segments of that are happening, but end to end, I think that's just a massive experience that real estate consumers are looking for.
Yeah, definitely. And we all should talk about it, innovate in this segment, see what everyone is doing, connecting the dots and so on. So I totally love this vision, support it. So thank you, Rajiv, for all the insights you gave us today, shared with our audience. We're wishing you all the best with all this adoption of technology within your organization and beyond. Thank you so much. Everyone else, please stay online if you'd like to see some updates on our product.
Natalia and Joe, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.